All right, so let me ask a rhetorical question while I'm on the subject of dogs approaching other dogs on and off leash. Okay, I think there's a lack of understanding about what actually happens when dogs get into fights, what it looks like. And if you've ever seen a bad fight, your whole point of view changes. Like everything that you previously assumed about dogs, it goes right out the window. And you start to look at them differently. Now, let me just pose this isn't a rhetorical question. I want you to think about this. And this is probably not the best example because they're both get off, Nico. Look at her. What a piece of shit. No, Nico, off. Good. Well, at least she sort of listens. So, way to go, Kat. Thanks for keeping the discipline going. So, what do you think would happen if Willie and Nico had a fight right now? All right, it's Willie. Willie Pep, look. And that's Nico. She's a female. Hi. She used to be America's sweetheart. Now she's like Britney Spears. Now she's like shaving her head and doing coke and driving with a fucking baby on her lap. So anyway, what would happen? I want to take a moment to think about it and really try to process it. And if you haven't seen a bad fight break out between dogs over a certain weight, forget about the breed for a second, and I'll get into that. What do you think it would look like if you haven't seen it before? Okay? And I want you to consider for a second that it is indeed possible. Okay? That it can happen. Maybe even with your dog. Alright? And that maybe it's not all that infrequent. Okay? Just consider that potentially, hypothetically speaking. So what do you think about that? Now, of course, everyone's going to say, well, they're pit bulls. Of course, they're pit bulls. Well, there is some truth to that. You got to be very careful with pit bulls in terms of their interactions with other dogs, particularly males. But let's say, what if it was a German Shepherd? Okay, Rottie. A lot of people don't like Rotties. What if it was an Australian Shepherd? What if it was what's another breed? A Hound. What if any dog bred for hunting? Okay. Above, say, 40 pounds. Any kind of terrier. How do dogs fight? Okay, well, I've actually witnessed dog fights that break out. I don't fucking I don't like go to like warehouses or wherever the fuck that shit is conducted and like bet on them. I mean, it's like the worst form of human evil. I'm talking about dog fights that break out because their owners are fucking idiots. Just to clarify before someone tries to take this out of context. So, here's what happens. Okay. If there are just two dogs, one dog and one really gets angry and loses his temper, what he will do is he'll bite the dog, and depending upon his breed, he may or may not lock on. Usually, and they go for the throat typically. Around the face area. If it's defensive biting, it's quick. But if they really lose their shit and they're a certain personality type, they're really going to try to hurt the dog. Unless the other dog is subordinate or more passive and just scoots away. Gets the fuck out of there. But that dog can still seriously get injured very quickly. Dogs are like as fast as cobras. Now, if the other one isn't willing to back down, now what you're dealing with is a situation that escalates. There's two dogs. And you may not be able to break it up. Particularly if you're not a very big person. If you're a small woman, it's going to be tough. Alright? And if you don't know exactly what to do, first of all, you're very likely to get bitten. Second of all, you may not be able to break it all up. You could be dealing with a fatality if it really gets escalated past a certain point, regardless of breed. But usually the tubes put in, it's horrific. Now, if you're dealing with multiple dogs, the danger gets multiplied exponentially. What happens, first of all, it starts off chaotic, but what ends up happening is the one that's losing, they all start going and picking at. Okay? Extremely predatory until they're all basically going after the one that's losing. And this isn't a strict rule, but I've seen this happen at outside dog parks. I wasn't in one. Like it's prey. And then the owner goes in, tries to break it up, and oftentimes the owner gets bitten as well. You get bitten inadvertently trying to break it up all the time, but also sometimes intentionally, I think. The other thing is if you go in and you try to break up a dog fight, and you start losing, all of a sudden now you're the prey. The dogs can all turn on you, even your own dog. It's an instinctual thing, and this happens. The dogs can now come back on you because they're just in a frenzy. I've never obviously had that happen to me. Once, when Butchie got attacked by one of my fosters, Butchie was my socialization dog. He's old now, and plus that happened. He doesn't really want to do it anymore, so I let him retire. But this dog locked onto him for about 2 to 3. I think it was about 2 minutes. It felt like an eternity. I have no idea how long. Anyway, it was horrific. I was by myself. I had an e-collar on both of them, but there's like a well in my backyard, and I went to sleep. I was putting contacts in. Moose he seemed cool, and then he lost his shit. It was unpredictable, and that's another point I'll get right back to. But the e-collar went down the well, so I had to improvise. Now, if it was my girlfriend who was here alone with the dogs, Butchie would have died, guaranteed. Okay, dead. Moose is going for the kill. A lot of times it's a pit bull trait, but a lot of dogs just bred for hunting, guarding, protection, way back, warfare. Those dogs don't fuck around when they play. They're going to try to kill the other dog typically. So it's not just fighting breeds. So Butchie finally, because it was just he really thought he was going to die, he started fighting back. And he just went to instinct, and Butchie's a Amstaff. I think he's got a little bulldog in him. They all do. And so he tried to lock back onto Moose, and instead he locked onto my hand. See that scar right there? And right there. Okay? I didn't get stitches. I probably needed them, but it's a deep. Oh, that's the other one. Camera skills. Okay. And I looked down. I could feel it. The adrenaline was going so bad because I love Butchie. He's my sweetest dog. I was like, what the fuck? I saw it before I felt it, and my skin was like being pulled up in the air. And I was like, Butchie, that's me. Like I was gonna reason with him. Okay. And so then I had to unlock Butchie off my hands, and then get back to work on Moose, trying to get him, and he wouldn't let go. And when I had to let go of Moose, because I had his legs elevated, or where was I? I forget what happened. But I had Moose in a position where he was almost under control, and then I had to let go because Butchie locked on to me. And Moose had a second go of Butch, and then that's when I started to get really worried, like he might die. 8 or 9 years ago, when I first started, I still was arrogant enough to go to dog parks sometimes. It's a lot of reasons why. I would go there with another dog trainer or two, and we were stupid. So Elvis, there was a girl who brought a dog into the park, shouldn't have been there. I think it was like an American Bulldog mix, whatever. She had it on a leash and a prong collar, of course, which you shouldn't have around other dogs. She's correcting it. No. Fucking idiot shit. Sam flip-flops on, too. So I went over, not mind my own business. We're going to help her get the dog out of the park. Elvis, I wasn't paying attention. He just kind of follows me everywhere. We got a little too close. He got a little too close to the dog. Immediately, the dog locks on right here. I was aiming for the jugular. Again, we had the dog's legs elevated. The dog would not let go. Elvis fought back. He got some good shots in. Now, I feel bad because I've inhibited my dog's aggression levels, which are probably naturally higher because of their breeds, and in so doing, limited their capacity to defend themselves in those situations because drive to defend themselves is somewhat suppressed because they know they're not supposed to do it. I think that's good for functioning in real life, but in emergencies, I would, if he had fought back a little harder, maybe he could have just gotten himself out of it. But he got some good shots in. Dog wouldn't let go for, it seemed like 2 or 3 minutes. We tried everything. Finally, I pried the dog's jaws open with my hands. I could have lost my thumb very easily. Very big dog. Okay? Those are 2 examples from my own life that occurred. They both require tubes put in. They're awful. Awful situations. I have a couple of other ones. But what happens is they basically try to kill each other. And you almost always get injured in the process of trying to prevent that from happening. It's not just a little yeah. What happens is dogs start with that bitchiness sometimes, and it escalates, and then it gets worse and worse and worse. With dogs like Moose, Moose had probably gotten into, he was a stray for the rescue. He'd probably want to fight early as a puppy. Fighting over trash with some other dog. Fucked that dog up and was like, I'm a bad motherfucker. So he got along really well with submissive males, which is why I went to sleep with him. Which he's like, he's not a tough guy, he's a little macho, but like, he's not going to take shit, he's not a pussy, but he's not a bully. That's why he was great for that kind of work. Well, he was a little bit too close to the dominant side for Moose's liking. And that's why he went after him. He hated that. He bit Elvis too. And Elvis is super dominant, aggressive. So, if it's a dog like Moose, that dog immediately, a certain level of disrespect, and it could be disrespect that you and your dog don't think it's like that, or your dog kind of knows. If it's a dog like a golden bred for juvenile traits, getting in his place, playing with him, annoying him, maybe try to hump him. That dog will interpret that as supremely disrespectful and respond very quickly in the most extreme way. And it's horrific what's going to happen. And that's all I can tell you about dog fights. This is traumatizing. It's horrible. It happens all the time. And people still don't understand the dangers. You see people, when fights break out, I train dogs outside the Bushwick Park. Bunch of fucking idiots in there. And fights break out in there, and people are, hey. Stop it, guys. It's like, dude. And I remember I went to go over there and beat the shit out of the owners. I tied my own dog off outside. I jumped the fence. I walked in. I fucking kicked the dog. I screamed at the rest of them, and they were all like, oh. And then I just looked at the owners because I'm so offended by dog fights and by how irresponsible people are with their fucking dogs and when it comes to aggression, because I've seen the consequences and it's horrifying. It's very personal for me. By the way, it represents an occupational hazard for me. Okay? It's a huge problem that I have to deal with, especially with people who want to say hi, because I work with huge percentage of dogs I work with have aggression issues and who invade our space. You have to respect the space of other dogs and people. A lot of people don't like dogs. And they don't have to. Sometimes my dogs do, if I have them off leash and I'm not paying close attention to them and we're not like working. They might go over and try to sniff another person. I immediately stem them and I yell at them. And then they're like, usually like, hey, he's a jerk. Well, I don't give a shit. I don't want my dogs invading other people's space. It's not safe for them. It's safe for the person. It's fucking rude. Alright? So, yeah, fine. Call me a Nazi, but I care at least a little bit about, people's personal space. I feel like they do that. So, anyway, think a little bit more carefully about the potential consequences, and that's why this is a huge deal for me. I ask a lot out of my dogs that I train, the ones that I own. The least I can do is protect their personal space and protect them from fucking idiots and their shitty dogs. And that's why I do it. And the thing is, I know the consequences. I know what it looks like. It's awful. Okay, so think about it a little bit. And maybe if you have the misfortune of actually witnessing and experiencing what I'm talking about, you'll fucking change. But you probably won't. You'll just blame the other person and sue them.